Turned out. Okay, so here we are. Okay, good.
15 seconds till time.
Their question.
I can let them see you or whatever. You know, I think they're good. But I can let them see the crowd.
Okay, so I'm, okay, so.
And you guys just take it up.
There. Just let me play with it. In the same way, I can't play with it. Yeah. I'm right here. I just need somebody here and I told them that. Let's see, where are one? Go ahead.
You are sitting, let's see, you're number 4. Over there. And who else is here? Lisa. You're number 2, right? Yes. So you are right there when you... And is Aaron here yet? He's coming in. Aaron's not here yet. And what about Sharon? Huh? I'm gonna be right here when I read the rules.
All right.
And then I'll be sitting. So just in case you needed to make any notes or stand out. No. Right.
If you want to come up here so I could just check him. Yeah. Just stand where you want to stand. Okay, this is all good. Thank you.
Let's see, there's Travis. Where's Aaron?
Yeah.
Crying trying to get him out. But I want to take people that come up.
The other two didn't want to show up.
Well, here comes one. Karen, you are sitting, you're number 3, right? You're number 1. You're right there. And Sharon is not here. But it's 10 o'clock, so we need to get started.
Just a friendly reminder for anybody who does want to come up for public comment, just make sure to speak directly into the microphone and I'll pick you up just like this. All right.
Yeah, Sharon was pretty.
It'd be nice. Okay.
So
All right.
she may not.
I know she was sick yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. So, unfortunately, Sharon's not here today. She was ill yesterday. Oh, is this for me? I don't need a microphone.
Well, they certainly help.
Hello. Is this on? Can you hear me? Good morning. You can hear me. Great. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm glad to see such a nice crowd. Unfortunately, Sharon Wolf has been sick, so she is not here today to answer the questions. And that's, I know we had somebody missing last year.
But I wanted to quickly go over the rules with you, and because we have pretty strict time constraints, and I want to be sure everybody's aware of them. There's going to be opening remarks by each candidate, which will be 2 minutes, and we'll start with the first candidate and go to the last, and then the closing statements at the end will also be 2 minutes, starting from Warren going up to Aaron. Questions from the audience are limited to 1 minute. If for some reason, and the answers are 2 minutes, we're trying to get it all up here. We'll help you along. If there's a follow-up question for the person asking the question, they have 30 seconds for the follow-up question, and you all have 1 minute for that follow-up question. Let's see. Before you can ask a second question, we want to be sure that we get through all of the people that want to talk. We will end promptly at 11:15, and The candidates will give their closing statements at 11:15, and then we're done. Meet and greet afterwards. You can grab them, ask them a question if you did not have the opportunity to do so during this forum. I just want to remind everybody, this is this is not a time to ask about what are the prices for the pool. Um, are we going to have a restaurant at Creekside, or things like, or striping? When are we going to get the road striped? That is not what the forum's about. The forum is to ask questions of the candidates so that you get to know them, their vision, what they see, what they'd like to see, things like that. So let's keep it. I will dismiss any questions that aren't appropriate, and let's all be real nice to each other, because I know we're good at that. With that being said, any questions from the audience? Okay, with that being said, let's give our well, this is Aaron. Everybody met Aaron. How's your last name? I know, Mendoza? Mendiaz. Sorry, Mendiaz. Aaron, Lisa Vale, Sharon Wolf is not here, and Warren Thompson. I put these little brochures out there for everybody, so you will have an opportunity to read a little bit more about them if you'd like to do so. So let us begin, Sharon, with our 2-minute opening statements. Hey, Sharon, come on up. I'm glad you're here. It's helpful. It's helpful. We are starting with our 2-minute opening statement, Sharon. There's a list of the rules in front of you there. And opening statement, Aaron, will begin with you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aaron Diaz. For those of you who don't know me, I hail from Unit 1, which is kind of.
Can y'all hear?
Is this better?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, I'm Aaron Diaz. Unit 1 has been a home to me for my whole life, although I haven't been there full time. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I look forward to meeting more of you. This place has been a part of my life, my whole life. So I look forward to helping and serving and giving back to the community, which means a lot to me.
Thank you. Another minute. Oh, was that?
That's fine.
Just Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. I think I know a lot of you, but for those of you that don't know me, I moved here 8 years ago, and I've been pretty much active in the community the whole time. My parents have lived here since 2008, and I fell in love with the place when I came to visit them. I ran for the board the first time because you know what they say, don't give input unless you're willing to do the work. I didn't want to be someone who spoke at board meetings without stepping up and putting my skills that I felt would be useful to work with the association. I have appreciated all the members that have given me support and kind words over the past 3 years. I don't have an agenda. I didn't then, and I don't now. Right now, I have the most experience anyone that is running in this election on how the association functions. I'm not saying that to boast, but to convey that I think the knowledge I've gained and the continuity that this board has provided is important. I hope my attitude and actions reflect what I truly believe. Along with the knowledge I've gained in the past few years, I also have experience in accounting and as a business owner, which I believe is valuable to the association. I'd like to continue the foundational work that this board has started. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've only been a resident of Fort Clark Springs for 2 years, but it's been a wonderful. My voice is kind of going, but
There you go. Move it closer.
but I am dedicated to the community. I'm committed to making our neighborhood a place where all residents feel heard, valued, and proud to live. My vision is to enhance communication between the board and homeowners, to ensure responsible financial management, property value preservation, and highlight the historical district. Promote a safe and welcoming environment. By fostering transparency and encouraging resident participation. I aim to build a stronger, more connected community. I look forward to serving and working together to make positive, lasting changes.
Thank you. Warren?
My name is Warren Thompson. I'm originally from Iowa. I've been here about 8 years. My wife and I found this place driving past about 8 years ago, and we stopped for one night. The next year we stopped for 3, and then we stopped for a month, and that's how we ended up here. And a year ago we bought property here. So my main concern, unlike Lisa, is I do have an axe to grind, and my axe to grind is the fact that we have neglected the RV park for other things on the fort, specifically the golf course. That is my main concern, and that's my main gripe. So the RV profits have gone for other things rather than helping the RV park. We have an RV park committee that does all the maintenance at the RV park. And if you would like to get involved with that, you'll find out just how much we do. We spend thousands of dollars year after year at the RV park, while the profits from the RV park go to the golf course. Okay, so I would like to see the golf course expenses itemized out. I'd like to find out if we're losing money or making money, and I know we're losing money. I volunteered at a golf course back in Iowa, and I can tell you that no golf course makes money. Of the 7 golf courses in the county I lived in, the one in my town was the only one that was still run by a board, and it was not owned by the city. And we lost $30,000 a year on a 9-hole golf course with 130 members. We only have 40 members down here. There's no way that we can maintain an 18-hole golf course with 40 paying members. So I'd like to just quit with that, and I'll gripe about the rest of it later.
Thank you, Warren. Okay, do we have any questions from the audience? You can line up right there.
Before we start, can we find that alarm? Is somebody's phone going off, or where's the alarm at?
It is?
Use it for something.
No.
Little.
Sorry.
Ah, it's all right.
I did it. It's a learning experience. Haven't had to use this puppy before in a social situation.
I've got one question. I shoot them down here. Step up.
Come to the mic.
I don't think I.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's going out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They can't hear.
I shoot pool down at the pool room all the time. Well, they shut it down. And I asked the question, why? First answer was that they were destroying it. Well, every time I went in there, I always took care of it. I vacuumed the floors. I, made sure everything was put back. But then I go down there and there's kids playing. Well, the fort was letting kids go in there and play. Well, of course, they were breaking the sticks and doing
Right.
this and that.
And that,
And so then I called up at the administration office. I asked them, why? And they said it was temporary shutdown. I said, I need an answer why.
yeah.
Well, then they turned around and told me that.
And that's really not a great question for them today, but it's one that
The
should
thing
be
is,
addressed.
somebody's got to give me an answer because I like to shoot pool.
I get it.
And I don't know who I go to.
Let's talk to talk to community council and have them take it to the board if that's an issue for you
I
personally.
could go to the general manager, but
I would.
well, that might be my thing. I just
Yeah,
need a
thank
phone
you.
number and
Yeah.
or
You can go to the office and ask them to direct you there. Thank you so much.
Could I address that for just a second?
Sure, of
Okay.
course. Just
I talked to this gentleman. I don't know his name. I talked to him yesterday. I don't understand why we can't have a lock-in, lockout system at the adult center the same way we have at the exercise gym.
that's a great idea.
You lock yourself in, nobody else comes in unless, they're approved,
right.
and then you lock yourself out. So
That's
these
not on
kids are
today's,
Beg pardon?
that's not for today.
Yeah, I know, but this is an issue, I think, and to use the excuse of asbestos in the crawl space or bat
Thank
wrap
you.
in the
Yeah.
ceiling is not a good excuse to close down an activity that some of our members have
I
enjoyed.
agree. I agree. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have other questions? I just want to remind you that this is, some of the questions I've read through that are written questions are directed to everybody, but remember, only one person on this panel has served on the board before. So they may not be familiar with all of the little nuances that happen throughout the board. So I'll read some of these questions unless we have another person that would like to get up and speak. Yes, please come on up, Mr.
Since
Palmer.
there's not a line here. I
No,
might
that's
as well.
right, and that's the
Yeah.
best
Somebody's
time
gotta
to get
start
in
one.
first.
All right.
Exactly, please.
So hopefully this is an appropriate question for all the candidates. David Palmer, I'm a groundwater director, concerned citizen of the Fort, been here for quite a long time. My question is about the springs. The relative importance of the springs varies depending on who you ask. And I would like to ask each candidate on a scale of 1 to 10, how would they rate the spring flow as important compared to other issues on the fort? And if each candidate has any ideas about how they might promote what they feel about the spring in the future. So that's my question. Thank you.
No, he was one. Thank you. Let's start with Aaron.
Okay, so as I mentioned, my whole life I've been coming here. The spring is quintessential to the fort. The fort exists because of the spring. Before the soldiers were here, the Indians were here for the water, and water is a driver in West Texas. So I remember when the current was stronger than I could walk against, maybe because I was too small. But Unit 1 is tucked around the spring, so I'm 100 yards from walking into the creek. So it to me is inseparable from what this community is, and without it, the community is not sustainable, really. Especially considering that this place is not, as much as it is a place that we live, or a lot of people live at. It was created as a recreational place for a lot of people who are not here all the time. And that remains the case today. There are lots of owners who are not here full time, and it is a recreation home, as it was for my grandparents in 1971 when they got one of the original units in Unit 1. So you can't separate the spring and the fort and have it exist as an entity in my mind, because it has always been one and the same. Only as an adult did I even realize there were parts of the fort not on the water.
Yeah.
As a child, my path from Unit 1 to the pool was along the creek. I didn't go on the roads unless I took a golf cart later on when I was allowed to drive at 8. They're inseparable, and I don't think the community can exist without the spring and the creek.
Thank you. Lisa?
What he said, no. It is, I think it's, for me, it's probably at the top of the list of what's most important. It's what draws people here. It's what helps this community to thrive. It's why people buy here. We may not all swim, but the spring, as soon as it goes dry, and then when it starts to fill up, everybody drives down to see the water come back up, whether they swim in the pool or not. And I think it's vital to us. And it's vital to us to really start elevating its exposure of it to not only, with here, but to really push out how vital this spring is and how long it's been here and the historical value of it, to give us more leverage to keep it from going dry, to use it, the more exposure we get, and when it goes dry, then the more eyes are looking at, why is the spring going dry? And what do we need to do to fix it? So I don't have any specifics for you today, but there are some things that the board has been working on behind the scenes for the spring. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Sharon?
To me, the springs is the most important thing that keeps Clark Springs alive. With the springs going dry in April, it'll probably be dry again if the permit holders when they start pumping. We have no income for the motel. People cancel their reservations. It affects us tremendously without the strings. I have been in contact with Eddie Morales, who is the legislature representative over the groundwater district, and I'm going to put this back on the groundwater. In their rules, if you run for office in precinct 1, 2, 3, or 4, you have to live in a rural community. That doesn't represent Bracketville and Fort Clark.
Mike,
Um,
Mike, closer, please. Thank you.
it doesn't really represent them. And without the groundwater district being able to make a drought plan and enforce the drought plan, we're pretty much out of luck. I was successful in managing a campaign and got David and Perry Menley, some conservatives on the board, but that's only 2 people. It takes 4, and the 4 are permit holders that are never going to vote for rules or regulations that Dr. Hutchinson wants to put in. David and Perry are pushing hard to try to change that, but and I'm pushing very hard. I'm trying to see. I'm waiting on an email from Mr. Morales.
Thank you, Sharon. Michael Bell. Roy, and then now.
I think the spring is really important. This is not just here in Texas. This is nationwide. 20 years ago, I was told by somebody who sat on the board of the South Dakota Water Commission that 20 years ago, this was going to be #1 issue. It wasn't going to be oil. It wasn't going to be climate change. It was going to be water. And when you live in South Dakota and you have the Missouri River coming down through your state and you're worried about water, Texas better be really worried about their water. I think that the next time this creek goes dry, we need to get in it. We need to dredge it, because at the bottom of this creek and down at the Red Bridge Pond is the richest soil in Texas. That soil needs to be put up on the banks and used for redoing the greens at the golf course, to redo your flower beds, to redo the lawns around here. And that soil is going to be once in 100 years. So you better not throw it away. You better not let people go down and pot their plants and stuff. That's very important. So the next time the creek goes dry, I would like us to think about what we can do with this creek to get that soil out of there and get it used. And we have to take in consideration these farmers. They've spent a lot of money for land, but they have to be fair. They have to be fair. We are here also, and they have to be fair with us, and we have to understand their plight, especially after they spent all this money.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Warren. Anybody else have a question they'd like to ask from the audience? Okay, then I'll read some of these. And these are all directed to everybody, so we'll start with a different person each time. So Lisa, I'll start with you. Do you feel that Fort Clark Springs can operate more efficiently? Anything, Cameron?
I was going to say absolutely. Anything, we can always be more efficient. I think we've come a long way in the last 2 to 3 years with a lot of it, but there's always room for improvement, whether it's within maintenance or admin or, our committees. But yes.
Thank you. Sharon? Mike, please.
As Lisa said, you can always learn from your mistakes and try not to make them again, and operate more efficiently. My #1 thing is to get us back on an accrual basis on our finances and not a cash basis, because cash basis doesn't give you a true financial report. That's the efficiency that I would like to see.
Thank you. Warren?
Well, I think that's a no-brainer. The thing that I would like to see, and I'll start with the RV park, I would like to see the RV park office closed. And those 2 people, we can bring the ladies over and clean the bathrooms, but we can make reservations for the RV park and the motel right here at the administration office. You get your envelope at the front gate. If you go to a state park, you get your envelope at the front gate, you go find your own site. we need to look around at places that we're spending money. The other thing that bothers me a lot, and I have talked to Philip about this, is that we throw stuff away without giving anybody here on the fort the opportunity to fix it. And I've talked to Philip about, where do all these weed eaters go? Where do all these lawnmowers go? And I've asked, let us have them over at the fire station. We'll fix them, sell them in February, and the money still stays on the fort. But they throw them in the dumpster, I think because they don't want us to know what's wrong with them or what very little is wrong with them. They can be fixed. I mean, we have the tractor at the fire station now. We fixed it for less than $500. We have the dump truck, which I understand the fort wants back now. And I'm more than happy to give them the dump truck back, even after though we put all that time and money in, if they make a donation to Fort Clark Days. The fort needs to support Fort Clark Days. That needs to be a line item. Look at all the work that people on Fort Clark Days do to support this place. So can we be efficient? You better believe it.
Thank you. Aaron?
So I'm hearing a lot of specifics about individual items happening and right now, but I think, well, to answer the question, yes, even a high performing company can always strive to be efficient. However, I think the issue at the fort, which has been an issue for decades, is it has not been high performing, and an overall goal of not just individual items, but a vision for the future, which is long-term goals for the fort, would are kind of needed because again, not pointing out any specific board, this has been going on for decades, as many people know. And part of what needs improvement is the system, the rules, if things keep repeating themselves, it's systemic. It's not local to an individual board or an individual person serving on the board. And so I think really we need to address systemic issues that have kind of brought us to this point. Because as having not been a full-time resident, I witnessed this place in a time lapse. And I see things happen over decades. And I have seen decline. And we may have our moments and our ups and our downs, but I remember the heyday in the 80s. And I know, I have pictures of my grandparents and what this place used to be, the vision for it as it was conceived of in the 70s when there was a lot of commercial and other efforts to really make this place something special. And we all want that, but it really takes a master plan and a grand vision to achieve it.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, I've got a couple of questions I put together. I mean, several, yeah. So we'll start with Sharon this time. And Sharon, this is a two-part question. Do you agree that $120,000 in attorney fees is excessive for our little HOA? Do you feel the members should be updated on attorney costs and progress related to the appraisal disputes and collections from delinquent members? 120,000, do you feel that is excessive in attorney fees?
It seems a little excessive to me. I mean, 120,000. I think there are a lot of things that the attorney could give us. I think we could be filing our own liens. I'm the president of the HOA Masters Condos, and we file our own collections. Our treasurer takes care of all that. They file the notices, they file the liens, they file the collection, they send the certified letters because there's forms for that. And there are a lot of forms that the attorneys could be giving us to do our own in-house filing. And we could, run it by them and make sure that we correctly filled it out. But yes, I think that's excessive, very excessive.
Okay, thanks. I think we'll come back to the second question, the second part of it next. Warren.
I really do. I think that we're not utilizing some of the people that we have on the fort to ask these questions to. Maybe Lisa can address this, but who is allowed to call the attorney and ask a question and then run these fees up? I mean, who is contacting these attorneys? And I think that there are people on the fort that could give us just as good advice, just like Sharon said, and could do some of this work for us if we only reached out to them and stop spending all this money off the fort. So do I think that's excessive? I think it's terrible. And I'd like to say about attorneys, in my practice, I was a veterinarian. I went to court 5 times. In the 5 times that I went to court, I took the other person there 4 times and somebody took me there 1 time. In all 4 of those times, I never hired an attorney and I never lost any of those 5 cases because I went and told my side of the story as honestly as I could to the judge. You're not going to you can't relay the message to an attorney and have that message relayed to the judge any better than you can yourself. We need to be representing ourselves and we need to stop this knee-jerk reaction of every time somebody says they're going to sue us, that we run out and get an attorney. We need to stop that. 90% of those people are never even going to file paper. So do I think it's excessive? I think it's more than excessive.
Thank you, Warren. Aaron?
Warren brings up an interesting point about when to represent yourself and when not to. And I think the real question relative to is $120,000 worth it is what benefit are we getting from that? If $120,000 saves the fort $250,000 or it increases the rate we pay, 100% it's worth it. But without specifics over, what the lawyers are doing, it's hard to answer the question. But more importantly, if it is about money and whether it's, I don't know, taxes or properties or whatever is going on in the fort, 100% when it is appropriate, you need a professional on the job, not the body at large, because we as a community together can afford an attorney when it is necessary. And when it is necessary, it is absolutely appropriate. But you have to evaluate what you're putting the money into. So, is it worth, paying a lawyer to, change driving from the right side of the road to the left side of the road on the fort? No. But in other cases, perhaps.
Thank you, Warren. Lisa?
Well, first, I'm not sure where the 120,000 is coming from. What what stretch of time it is.
Doesn't say on the question,
Yeah, I
actually.
have no
Can
idea.
anybody clarify that question or want to? Okay. So,
So there are multiple reasons that we use attorneys. One, and we all know that we are contesting the taxes as an HOA, and that we feel that we're being double taxed. So that is gone. But at this point, we have spent hardly anything on that process because we haven't gotten to court yet. There's also all the fees that go against the person who is delinquent, which we have an overabundance of delinquencies. And it's not going to liens at this point. We are switching from one attorney to another. So that also means we are saving. Our new attorney has a flat fee for all the beginning work to get somebody collected. So 120,000, I don't want to spend 120,000, but I can't vouch for where that number is coming from. So, and to answer Warren, the board and the GM are the ones allowed to contact the attorneys.
Anyone on the board is allowed?
Well, we usually, as a consensus, as the president, it usually runs through me.
Okay.
We can't just all pick up the phone and ask any
Yeah,
question we
okay.
want.
thank you, Lisa. So that brings us to this question, which we'll start with Warren on this one. Do you feel the members should be updated on attorney costs and progress related to the appraisal dispute and collections from delinquent members?
Wow, that went right over my head. I'm kind of a rake the leaves type person, but I don't know. I think Sharon has a lot better grasp of these type of questions, and I'd just like to say, of the 4 people sitting here, I'm probably the least qualified to answer that question. And but as far as attorney fees, I think, like I said, we need to reach back inside our membership and ask for advice. And the one thing that we talked about was forming a committee to advise the financial officer on the board. We need to think about reaching out to these people who can assist us on the board and not think that we're the the smartest 5 people in the community. That we need help sometimes. And I heard that this board was 7 members at one time and now it's down to 5. And I understand why you do that, because you can't get 7 members fired up, but we need to reach out, I think, to more people in the community for input and for advice.
Thank you, Warren. Aaron, do you need me to read it again?
I just want to, can I just see it?
Sure.
Okay, so, all right. So transparency is necessary, period, for the members to know where their money is going. That's important. So whether some of the details about attorney's fees would actually make sense anyway to a non-attorney legal person reinforces my point about professionals doing professional work. But furthermore, when it comes to collections from delinquent members, there are, as I'm aware, there's a lot of delinquent member payments here. However, I don't believe collections from properties that are 25 years delinquent, et cetera, are really considerable. I think at a certain point, at a certain time, however many years is really the maximum considerable delinquency that would actually be retrievable legally, as far as I understand it. So some of the delinquencies cannot even be considered part of the money that is owed to us, because if a property's been delinquent 25 years, there's no real expectation to collect that money. I'm not sure that there's even a legal process beyond a certain period of time for collecting that money. More importantly, so delinquencies between a range of, I run a small business. If I don't get paid by a customer within a month, 2, 3 months, and now I have some that are 2, 3 years down the road, I know I'm not going to get that money. And it's not even worth chasing it at some points. And so what money is actually owed to us really has to be considered as what is really retrievable, which is not everything on the books, because at a certain level, it's gone. So that's how I feel about that.
Thank you.
See the question.
Thank you, Aaron.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I'll start with the appraisal dispute first. Until there is nothing to update, and when we have had something to update, we've said it at every board meeting. We are waiting for a court date at this point, so there really is nothing. And I absolutely believe that, this board has really tried to be transparent in all that we do. And so we try to apprise. As far as the delinquencies, we can't give a lot of specifics because we can't give out any personal information. And I agree, at a certain point, we cannot recover the money that we are trying to get. But unlike providing a service where if they don't pay you, you've just lost that service and you move on and you find another customer. If we continue to let these properties sit there in delinquency and do not try to foreclose or, collect the money and then foreclose, we will never get it sold to another person to get assessments again. We live off our assessments and our businesses. So we can't just let these properties, not only do they lay fallow, or, well, some are still lived in, they're a blight on the community. So at some point, we do have to measure what we spend to get the properties back, to get them back on the rolls, and to get assessments to increase our revenue.
Thank you. Sharon?
On the assessments,
Yeah, hold it real close here.
okay.
There you go.
Okay. On the assessments, I agree with Aaron. There comes a time when you're not going to get the assessments, but if you haven't filed the proper paperwork, send them their certified letters and file a lien with the tax office, you're never going to get that money, because when if they're not paying us, they're probably not paying their taxes. And the tax office is foreclosed on 134 lots out here, which we probably didn't get any assessments on, but we did not have a lien filed on those. So without a lien, when they foreclose, they go down the list the tax office gets their money, and if there's any money left, we'll get some money if we have a lien filed. But since we don't have a lien on the properties that are being foreclosed on, we won't get any money. And then the protest that the board filed, they filed the protest and they lost the first round. They were ruled against, and they chose to go ahead and file appeal to that protest. That's just more money. And when I visited with Mr. Tate, he gave me the rules in the law about how you can get those protests. When you protest, what your chances are being ruled in favor of. I don't believe that we're going to have a favorable outcome on that, but that's my opinion. After I read what he had in his.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. The next question, we will start with Aaron. Thank you. Help me out here. Do you feel not providing financial statements for 2022 and 2023 and correct monthly statements for 2024 is a fiduciary failure of the board?
So again, transparency about all of the income broken down individually per commercial would be ideal. I think it is necessary for the membership to regularly understand our income statements. We get these statements at meetings, etc., and it's still not clear to people where the money is coming and going. And so I think it's important that gets clarified / broken down in a more digestible way. And I understand I'm asking for more detail, so maybe it's less digestible, but nonetheless, I think it's important that we always have a clear understanding of exactly where we are. But this goes back to a cash versus accrual kind of way to do business. Once again, as a small business owner, I do a cash system, but that's because I have no assets, whereas the fort has a lot of assets and entities that really need a breakdown. So the golf course is an example. How much money is it making, losing, etc. But there's a lot of other assets as well, and taxes on the assets. So I think it needs to be more transparent. So
Thank you, Aaron. Lisa, if you need me to read the question again, I probably could. Okay, do you need it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, do you feel that not providing financial statements for 22 and 23 and correct monthly statements for 2024 is a fiduciary failure of the board of directors?
Well, I have a hard time. 2022, I have a hard time. Well, with any of them, we provide a monthly P&L every month at the boardroom. So I don't know what they mean by financials. If they are talking about our annual audit,
that's why it's good to ask questions.
Yeah, if we're talking about the annual audit, then for 2022, those were never done. So in 2023, we couldn't do 2023s. So it was a problem that we inherited. So we have spent the last year and a half getting the audits done for 2022, 2023, and 2024 is on track for when it is due, which is March at the annual meeting. So, and a lot of you have heard me say it more than one time that we have been working on these audits since I took over as president, and we've put out there that they're available, and nobody is, I don't think, come in and asked for them. So as far as the audits go, that's all I can
Thank
say
you,
about
Lisa.
that.
Sharon?
Yeah, the annual audits are very important, and sometimes we do inherit things that weren't done. But until we get back on a accrual basis on our finances, we'll never know exactly where we stand. If we're on a cash basis, we'll never know where we stand on our finances.
Thank you. Warren.
I don't know about fiduciary. That's a pretty big word for me, but I can tell you that we need to go back to what Sharon brought up at the town hall meeting about we need detailed income expenses for every building and every activity on the fort. I got financial information from the office and I thought I was reading all of the information about the golf course and it looked to me like the golf cart lease was in a total different category on a different sheet. The other thing that bothers me is I see this backhoe going down Fort Clark Road in the morning, and people tell me it goes down to work at the golf course. If that person and that equipment is used at the golf course, that needs to be charged against the golf course as far as an expense. And I think I asked about that and I was told, well, those people are already on salary and that equipment's already bought, so we don't charge that against the golf course. That's not right. If they use that on Dickman Hall or they use that on the fire station, that time and that equipment expense needs to be charged against that particular thing in what Sharon said, which is a detailed income expense for every single building and item and activity on the fort.
Thank you, Warren.
Can I respond since we can have a minute to respond to the question?
Sure. Let's just say this is a 30-second follow-up question. Go ahead.
Oh, this is
No,
a 30-second. Oh,
yeah, so you've got a minute to answer.
okay. I think there are a lot of assumptions about how things are coded and where they go. The resources and the man hours it would take to give a detailed, to the penny every single month would be exorbitant. There is no lack of transparency, but at some point, if you feel there is an issue, there is recourse for the members through Property Code 209 to request the documents that they feel there's a problem with. If the general manager and the board spend every single day trying to detail out all of these items, nothing will ever get done. The board gets elected to represent the interests of the members. If you are concerned and feel there's a problem, then, come to the office, fill out your letter and send it in. Nobody's trying to hide anything.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Can I respond to that?
Sure, why not?
It might be exorbitant for the board to document all that, but we have a maintenance department,
Yes.
and that maintenance department knows where these people are. And if they had a report this to fill out every month as to where that equipment went and how long that equipment was there, it could be a maintenance responsibility, and it wouldn't be that hard of a, it wouldn't be that hard.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm pretty sure we're paying $4,200 a month to a company to deal with our accounting. So I don't know why at that expense, nearly $50,000 a year, if we're paying someone to do it, why it's difficult to ask them to provide that report, which they're being paid to do. And it doesn't have to be filtered by the board, or I don't know I'm not going to say it's filtered by the board, but we're paying someone nearly $50,000 a year to do this. It's their job. So I don't see how that cannot be a request to them, considering we're paying them to do it.
Thank you. Our next question, Lisa, we'll start with you on this one. A financial statement for the motel was made available at the most recent town hall. It was calculated on a cash basis. However, it included accrued unpaid income. Question: if the current cash system requires an accrual, is the actual system not a better reporting method for the fort? Please explain.
Well, I won't speak to that report. You'd have to speak to the general manager, but I will say that we all have our opinion on cash and accrual, and you can sit here and say accrual is better. You can say cash is better. When we were on accrual, people were looking at the P&Ls back there and saying, oh, look at how many assessments we have coming in. Why don't we have any money? Well, that assessments were listed to us on an accrual basis. which means not what we received, but what we invoiced. So there is a huge disparity in that you don't see in a cash basis. You still know where every dollar and every penny is. We have depreciation schedule when we go to do taxes, when we do all those other things. There is some accrual at the end of the year. We've spoken to those people that we spend our money with, and other professionals, and there's no problem with cash. But that's just a matter of opinion. And if a new board gets on and wants to redo it again, then that's up to them.
Thank you. Sharon?
Well, in our 209 that we have to go by, they do leave it up to the board to decide. There's no set rule about cash or accrual, but their recommendation is accrual. So that's all I know.
Thank you. Warren?
The thing that I brought out of the town meeting concerning the motel was, why are we doing an assessment to fix the motel, which makes money? Why aren't we doing an assessment against the golf course, which loses money? So if you have a motel that has an income, it has a profit, and it's supposed to have 20% of its income set aside for repairs and stuff, why are we bringing up the motel for an assessment against the membership? I think the reason that we use the motel is because everybody would agree we have to have a motel. It makes money and we need it. But the thing is, if you have an assessment against something that's losing money, people are not going to vote for it. And I really believe that assessment should have been against something that was losing money on the fort, which is the golf course. The golf course loses tens of thousands of dollars a year, and it's not managed correctly. I worked at a golf course where there was one person in the golf course, in the pro shop, and one person doing maintenance. Everybody else was volunteer. I was one of the volunteers. We can do that at this golf course right here if we have the right management and we have the right oversight. But we're not going to do it. And I'll be very honest with you. If we close this golf course and just let everybody go out there and do a wilderness golfing experience with no fees, they'll open it up a year later, I'll guarantee you, because they closed the golf course in the little town next to where I was at. And those people came back, wrote the checks, volunteered, raised their hands, and they opened that golf course up because they loved it. There are people who love this golf course. I am a member of this golf course. I'm willing to volunteer there again. I volunteered before. And let's get this golf course on some kind of a staple.
Thank you, Warren. I'm sorry.
Well,
We have a question.
Sharon?
yes.
Oh, I didn't raise my hand, but I was told to walk. You can, thank you, and thanks, but we haven't finished with this one quite yet. But you stay right, there you go, right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron, you didn't answer this question yet. Did you?
That's you.
Cash system requires an accrual.
That's you at the gun club.
I think we started with Lisa on that one.
Oh, nice try.
Okay, so regarding the motel, and how, yes, I understand not, I will say there can be arguments made for cash versus accrual, period. But the issue is when it's done on a one-by-one basis, like we're talking about the motel. Motel is one of many things here, and it's a taxed entity. Like, I mean, it is in the historic district. It generates tax breaks just being the structure that it is, and so maintenance and repair of it is essential. One that maintains its tax credit as a historic district building, and so it's necessary, and it is also a generator of revenue. So this gets into which is better again, but to me it's not which is better. It's when you're analyzing this on an individual basis, but the reality is there's a lot more than the hotel or the golf course, and it needs to be broken apart and treated as such. Again, I run a cash system myself, but I don't have a lot to keep up with. It's mostly me and a couple contract employees. So it's simple and easy, but the motel and what we getting into historic structures is a whole other debate anyway, and that's part of what the motel is, and that's a part I'm actively volunteering for. Actually, I was measuring it yesterday, and I will continue today, so we can have a proper bids for repair. Anyway, but the point about the hotel, again, you can't consider an individual entity. You have to think about the whole. The same applies to the golf course. When you do that, you get, I mean, it's not so much an opinion, but it's like you have to handle it a certain way.
Thank you, Aaron. Kathy, let's have a question.
Good morning. Well, most people know I'm kind of like a simple-minded person and I really like simplicity. Okay? I got time limit to ask a question?
Yes.
Hold on, just
1 minute.
oh shoot, okay.
It's on the rules. I read it earlier.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay. Anyhow, I really don't read a lot of the provincials. I don't read a lot of stuff and everything, but my question is for this, for all of you. We have the RV park, we have the motel, we have recycling, we have golf course. When I look at some of the financials, I can make sense of all the income and that, but I would you support having a separate page or section for motel, recycling, RV, and golf? Because I know for a fact that I did a lot of volunteering at the golf course, so I would debate that with you later on. And also recycling, a lot of the time that she works really hard to get the grants and everything and buy the equipment. Some of that goes into the general fund. And that way, I don't think you really know exactly how much you're making or losing for each one. I would ask it of all of you.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, ma'am, you did a good job. Sharon, you'll be first on this one.
I agree. I think every money-making project that we have on the fort should have its own profit and loss statement so that we know what's making money and what's not making money when it's all integrated into one financial report. And we have a cash basis where it says that we made $111,000 on the motel and 50,000 of that it's not been collected. It's a little bit skewed, in my opinion.
Yes.
Thank you, Warren. What, Aaron? Kathy.
Right. This is seems to be a recurring theme here now in
Mhm.
questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the answer isn't, okay, I am for individual breakdown of profit and loss. Granted, I wanted people to keep in mind, especially in talks about closing down a golf course, etc. Reducing amenities here is not going to draw people here. I really think the increase of amenities, it's how we bring tourism money, which is how small towns survive. So we need to figure out actually how to do more, and how to generate more revenue. If we have a money losing thing, it is one thing to evaluate, but it cannot be just considered solely individually when the whole of the parts complete what the fort is. The fort has always had a golf course. It's in the original master plan, and it's actually only half of what's on the map, which is interesting. There was a grand vision again, and it included a lot more than what we currently have. And I think the future of the fort is not about decreasing; it's about increasing and figuring out how to get there, which is not a pulling money out of people's retirement pockets to support a business entity. The entity itself needs to be generating more money, and that's a holistic thing, not an individual. Oh, hey, guess what? We have to repair the hotel because boards are rotting. Some of this is also systemic, as in some of the decay would not be occurring with maintenance. And yes, we have half the maintenance people we used to, or etc. But it costs us more in the long run, and we have to look at this big picture style and think of it holistically, not just the golf course. There were golf tournaments when I was a kid.
Thank you, Aaron. Lisa.
I'm
I'm sorry, I don't need to, but when I do, that's.
Since I'm the last one in this round, can you please repeat the question?
Well, Kathy, asked.
Oh, you did ask.
We're having individual
Yeah.
reporting for.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
I got lost in and expense. Thank you.
Yes. I do want to agree with Aaron on, we are as a whole, you can't look at it just individually. I do support, we do have it broken out by classes, because of the system we use. if that's what the majority of the membership wants, I don't have any problem. We just have to find a way to make the report that isn't 15 pages long, or maybe you can request it instead of, we can't print out however many copies on the back, every month. But yeah, I support it. We can, individually it's easy, to do them, but to put them all together individually is, a lot of paper.
Thank you.
Could I do a rebuttal to that? What Aaron was talking about?
Quickly.
Okay, I don't think that the golf course was in the master plan of the place. If it was, it wasn't back in 1852. Okay, so, but it may have been since 1972. But the thing is, we cannot build things that don't attract people. And that golf course has been here for 50 years. And if it has not attracted over 100 members by now, we need to wait for those people to come and live at Fort Clark Springs and then get fired up and open this golf course back up to where it makes a profit or at least breaks even. We're not building a polo field for people who have horses, and we're not running the airport with staff. We cannot run the golf course we cannot run the golf course and watch everything else be neglected. How many broken windows are in Dickman Hall? Why is there not a floor in the commissary? It's all because the money goes down to the golf course.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warren.
I don't think there's any broken windows in Dickman right now.
14, I heard.
Well, we'll have to check on it.
Okay.
Next.
Okay. Isn't that a rule that when you come up to the mic immediately you have to clear your voice? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. How does declaration, this is for everybody, how does the declaration, bylaws, and rules and regulations work together to govern the board? And how does Property Code 209 fit into the mix?
I'm so sorry. We will start with Warren.
No, start with somebody else. I don't even understand the question.
Okay. Then let's. use that
What was the
Aaron.
last part you said? What was that number?
Property Code 209.
Okay, I don't even
Yeah,
understand the question.
And that's
I
one of
don't
the
understand.
questions that I thought might not be for everybody if they aren't familiar with yet, which they would be later, but maybe not now with 209. So anyway, Aaron, do you?
I'll agree with that. As a general member, I have not studied the
Right.
bylaws for 209. And clearly, as a board member, you have to really get heavily into that and deal with that. So I cannot speak to that which I do not study. And I'm not running on my, dictionary memory of the bylaws and what 209 is. Because that's not what I'm bringing to the table. I'm bringing my experience as a professional in construction, design, construction management, etc. That's what I'm running on.
And you will learn 209.
I will have to.
You can answer this question later,
Okay.
maybe.
Well, I think it's been asked and it should be answered. And I'm next. Yes.
Yes, you are, right. But you understand why some people may not know what 209 is.
Well,
May
absolutely.
I explain why I asked the question then?
Surely, please do. You have 30
And
seconds.
then I think since it's been asked, everybody at least ought to have their opportunity to give an answer. And that is that we hear an awful lot of, we need to do this, we need to do that. I have an opinion, that's great. But I wanted to ask that question because the people who wanted to come up here and run for the board, I think ought to have at least a passing understanding of what you're getting into. And if you don't have any idea how those things rule, then some of the ideas and some of the things that you're trying to bring forward probably aren't going to be as achievable as you think they are, because there are ways that the business has to be done. That's why I asked the question. I wanted to see what the general knowledge was.
General knowledge.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any more questions from the audience?
So-
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Yes. So we have a hierarchy of documents. Our declaration is at the top. I mean, there's a couple of that. Our declaration is at the top, then our bylaws, then our rules and regs. The rules and regs deal with things like speeding on the fort, what are our amenities, things like that. Your bylaws basically deal with all of the elections, board etiquette, GM responsibilities, things like that. And then your declaration is our governing document that sets how we govern the fort. So you cannot change your bylaws in conflict because your declaration will trump it. It goes the same way from the bottom to the top. You can't make a rule that is in conflict with the one above it. And as far as 209 goes, it's at the top but to the side. We have to follow 209. Those are the laws. So it tells us how we can people can request documents if they want them. It tells us what we have to have an open session. It's very specific, but it also leaves room for us to have our own. So they can disagree but not be in conflict. And I would just have to say it, and it is no offense to anyone up here, but when I ran the first time, and before that, I was on the president of community council, worked on the architecture. I made sure I knew our documents, not inside and out. Every day I reread them and find something new, but I made sure that I had a good working knowledge before I ran for the board. And I will tell you, even with all that I knew after I got on the board, thank you.
Thank you,
As much as I got
Lisa.
it.
Sharon?
Yes, Prop 209 is what the state put in place for HOAs across the state to abide by. And there are rules and regulations in there that we have to. And like Lisa, I felt like when I was running for the board, I needed to go through the bylaws, go through the props, the declarations and everything. And one thing I thought was very interesting with the special assessment, if you read in our declaration rules and regulations, or I'm not sure, I've read so many of them about it. It says on the special assessment that you can only do a special assessment if you have a deficit. And since the motel does not show a deficit, I'm interested in how they think they're going to do a special assessment against us.
I don't believe that everyone on the board needs to know everything about how to run the fort. That's why we have 5 members, and that's why, you divide up the jobs at hand. Somebody takes finance, somebody takes, maybe regulations, somebody is a lawyer. So I don't think that just because you serve on the board, that you are required to educate yourself about everything. That's why you have more members than just one person.
Yeah. 30 seconds, Aaron.
Okay, I just want to add that in my practice, I regularly have to deal with CCNRs, HOAs, et cetera. That is a day-to-day thing I've been doing for almost 20 years now. And part of the reason I'm running is because my frustration with, and I'll say like over previous multiple boards, architectural committees, et cetera, is the flagrant violation of the rules, which to me are very straightforward in reading because it's part of my practice to understand and operate within the rules of HOAs. I have to. And it is reviewed by bigger entities and bigger municipalities, including historic commissions, when I have to submit for a state registered landmark building, which I do. I just got a permit to.
Thank you. Sorry.
I'm very strict.
All right.
Take your time.
Any other questions from Candace? Candace? Constance. My neighbor Candace. My name's,
I just have a quick question. I'd like to know what your educational attainment is, how far you went in school, and what your degrees are, and what courses you took that you think will help you on this board.
and this time we are starting with, we're back to Aaron, I believe.
Is this like 2 minutes?
Yes.
Some may say I crammed my 4 years into 7 at school. As a consequence, I have an engineering background of 3 years before I switched to architecture, which I have a professional degree, which is considered a combined master's program. So in my 3rd year of architecture, I was taking master's level courses through my 5th year of architecture. And yes, it is a 5-year program. So I have a professional bachelor of architecture. I also have a bachelor of science in environmental design. I also have a minor in construction management, and I quit on taking another 3 hours of math to get a minor in math. In addition to that, I ran multiple volunteer. I was elected multiple committees. I won an award at graduation for community service. It was a big, important part of my education. And then I just have been head deep into my work, which has prevented me from serving till my 10th now. But that's my education. I guess that's it.
Thank you, Aaron. Lisa?
I have no degree, which, I tell myself I have a degree in the school of life. I've owned my own business, multiple businesses. You don't have to have, well, I don't want to defend myself. I don't have to have a degree to,
No, you don't.
So,
No one has to have a degree.
so,
You have to.
Sharon,
As Lisa said, I have a large uh, life experience. I have 26 years with industrial sales and marketing, 9 years with Bechtel Corporation in contract management. I have a year with Motiva Chemical Project where I manage contracts and subcontractors to accommodate 5,000 people that we employed and hired to complete a major upgrade. I was the chairman of Houston Society of Manufacturing Engineers. 14 years I planned and did the construction and managed rentals in Sanderson, had a restaurant. I was parish president of St. James Catholic Church and obtained $105,000 in grants to redo their kitchen, do a commercial kitchen in their hall. I have 6 years as editor and publisher of the Terrell County Sun newspaper. I was on the Sanderson School Board, chairman of the Terrell County Republican Party, and I managed the campaign for the 4 conservative candidates that were running for the groundwater. I had 2 years with the Masters HOA as the president, Del Rio Amistad Lions Club member. And when my children grew up, because I did not have college, I went back to college after I had adult children and I got an associate's degree, a major in psychology, and
Thank you.
a minor in engineering drafting.
Thank you. Warren?
I graduated from high school in 1965, and I was planning to be drafted, and I got a swimming scholarship to a small college in Kansas City. After that, I served 2 years in the Marine Corps. Then I went back to veterinary school, and I joined the U.S. Army medical program, and you paid for 3 years of my education in veterinary school, and I owed 3 years in the Army. So none of that qualifies me for this board. Absolutely not. Where I come from is my life has always been a gift from other people, whether it was a scholarship or from the government who paid for my education in vet school. And that's where my volunteerism comes from, because people help me along the way. So that's where my motivation is to turn that back and give that back. I'll tell you a story. When my wife and I travel, we pick up hitchhikers. Everywhere we go, we pick up hitchhikers. And we've never passed one up, and we've only had one bad experience, because that's how you give back.
Could I get a ride to El Paso next week?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Warren. That unfortunately is all the time that we have for questions. And right now, what we'll do is we'll begin our closing statements from each of the candidates, and we will start with Warren.
Okay. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, but the other thing that bothers me about Fort Clark is that we don't have any longevity on the board. And I really am happy that Lisa is running again, because we need some continuity in this deal. You know, we as a community have chewed up board members, we've chewed up general managers. Without the employees that we have on this fort that ran it while we were all being children, we would not be where we are today. So we owe the employees a lot. That doesn't mean that we don't need to have to supervise them. We don't have to look after them. We need to make sure they're doing their job and doing it correctly. But I just really think that we need to have some type of longevity on the board. I'm 78 years old. That doesn't sound like I'm going to be here for the next 10 years. But I would really encourage you to support the general manager we have now, support the board, And we need to move forward and stop bickering about everything.
Well said. Thank you. Sharon.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming and the question. I'm sorry, I'm a little off this morning. I could barely speak yesterday. I'd like to thank everybody for coming and the interest that we have with our community, the volunteers, the people that have so much knowledge that live on the board. I'd like to use my experience in managing rentals, construction, contracts, advertising, and grant writing to help Fort Clark Springs. And my focus is to preserve Los Morris Springs, the historic district, to grow and attract tourists and permanent residents, and improve the amenities, not deplete them. And I would like to bring back the greatness that we once had. And we can do that with the proper amount of advertising and letting people see what we have here. And so I'd like to know if y'all choose me to be on your board, I would like to have an open dialogue with the people on the board to see what you would like. There's a lot of things I would like, but it might not be what you would like. So I think it's important that we get together and come to a place where we can agree on where we need to start. And instead of just shotgunning out things, we need a master plan. We need to get priorities in place and accomplish those priorities one at a time and move on down the road and not just be putting Band-Aids on things.
Thank you, Sharon. Lisa?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for putting this on and keeping us in mind. It's like herding cats.
Kind of.
It's
been great.
It's funny, we've talked about a master plan, or we should have one. And I wrote myself some notes and things that I wanted to make sure I said. And I ran out of paper in my printer. So I had to print on the back of something. So what I ended up printing on the back of was the vision synopsis for the vision traction list workshop that we had to get us toward our goal of having a master plan, which is, our 3, our 5, our 10, which we are working on. So I just feel like I have to say we're not nowhere. We've come a long way in the last, I would say, 2 years, losing a GM, losing board members, and getting to where we are now. And I'm proud of that fact. I was hoping there was going to be a little more of us talking about, our vision and that kind of thing. But what I'll say is, if I had to pick one thing to stand on, it would be our financials. I know everybody has an idea of what they want to see, and we will do our best to give more detail. But for internally and tracking our money, they are better than they've ever been as a result of hiring the financial service company that I worked closely with to bring on board and up to speed on the state of our financials. Using their expertise and the continued presence behind the scenes has significantly strengthened our processes and the stability. If there are issues, they see them and help us clean it up. But if I had to pick 2 things, the second thing would be hiring Charlena. During her interview, I felt strongly that her expertise and her bold and kind personality was what the fort and the members and employees needed. This isn't in here, but I too want us to get back to, we all have our thing that we're sure is wrong, or we make our assumptions, but the other thing that, did I hit mine too? I'm so sorry.
2 seconds.
2 seconds? Okay. I've been a board president for almost 2 years now, and I believe I've done a good job. And if you know me, I'm worth the vote. Thank you.
Eric?
So there's been a lot of talk about business and how we run it. And as I mentioned previously, I'm not running on that. Although I do run a business, I'm running on my knowledge and experience in construction design, construction management, pricing, etc. I've worked on projects, from tiny remodels to $97 million compounds. which are extremely complex, take years to plan and execute. Projects that are 5, 6, 7 years long. So what I'm running on is separate from a lot of what our discussion has been, but I also feel like it's something that out here, as remote as it is lacking a little bit. Hence volunteering to run for when I've been frustrated with previous experiences. However, it's all important, and the vision and goal and core values matter. They do. I think we all care about this place. I do think there's been infighting since it was a military base. However, I want to say though, this is not a military base. We don't have free labor to repair. This is a recreational place, and the master plan from the 70s is the plan that created the place we live in, not the army base. So you can't dismiss that. And again, I deal with historic structures all the time. That is a rich resource, I think, that is untapped. We talk about not having floors in the commissary. I was walking in there, so I'm kind of curious about that. Just last week I was there, but I just think we can get more with what we have, and we're underutilizing it. And I think there's also more money out there that isn't coming out of our own pockets that we can get. And I think there's not saying there hasn't been any kind of push towards it, but I think I can contribute to that, as in it is a regular part of what I do on a daily basis.
Thank you, Aaron. And thank you all so much. That's all the time we have for right now. You're welcome to stay and ask the candidates questions if they're staying. I know Sharon's not feeling well, but thank you all for coming, because I think it's really important to get to know who we're voting for. So thank you all.
Well, I am sorry that
I should tell Michelle. Everybody got it. Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
No, I'd be happy to offer to the previous partnership. Yeah, we're having fun. We're having fun.
That's what I'm talking about.
No one knows what
That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Which is actually really
Well, that's part of the problem.
I don't know if it was good or bad.
No, you've lost a lot of weight, haven't you? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have several my husband moved around a lot. I got I have but during that 70 years, yeah, and well, one thing I told them, I will tell you who I was talking to. They said, you know, this is a person that has like, okay, great. I said, well, you know what, they graduated That was so nice. You did great. You did a great job. But so we'll continue. We will try to get them this week sometime. I'll be available. I want to talk to you. Oh, okay. Did you get one over here? This is my last year. I'm not doing this. I'm head of arts and crafts. So okay. However, I have everything on a spreadsheet. I have leaves, 40. When I took it over, there were 3. Yes. You know. I know you have a lot of young people that are working with.
Yeah, but none of them are in that area. I think you need to get that to Frances, and she needs to find a job.
Yeah.
Well,
They went well. Yeah.
And I will.
Yeah.
And I passed mine.
Yeah, I'm glad I was here.
So
anyway,
this guy could go a long way to get a shitload of grants.
All you have to do is develop a system, and then you just start cranking them out. Same thing with it.
Yeah.
The same issue that what I did with the late stuff. They stopped doing that 5-6 years ago. Start cranking them out again.
Yep.
You only need one person part-time to do it.
Well, hopefully we'll get on track.
4 o'clock one morning, and I thought, I'm gonna get my certificate renewed.
Well, we have a friend that's been here visiting us. He's gone right now, but he and I used it together.
I know,
So
I
I
just
picked
put
up
back, but I'll
the
use my
I missed one question. There's 50 questions. That's the last, and I thought, oh my God. But I missed one. I think it was on the something about the percentage of alcohol somewhere or something.
The one I missed was it said, is it legal to have both addresses? Driver's
trying to get my keys. I had it in an envelope. I got rushed to the truck and I just wanted to, how are we going to hook up? I got 90. I don't even know your phone number. I just have it missing. And Russ got, he got 96.
Well, I
We help lunch on truck.
and I didn't bring it.
I picked up the borrow some.
But that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Or if you could just one right out
Then I'm gonna come around you.
You go.
Okay.
Wanda.
I think we're on
Wanda.
I think things are moving. If that's what loses and it's improving.
I'll get those too.
Yeah,
But
that's where
I think that's the hard one. We're so far about the
yeah, I'm really.
even if they can
Yeah, well, that's where I'm not sure. Sometimes, and I'm not doing this as a complaint coordinator, but like we used to. When we were the same place, and I never when do you like to go? Is it both days? Is it Saturdays? Oh, we know when. I haven't seen you being able to see
well, they got that one intersection. Now also Kathy's husband has been up on the next area.
I never he was here too. He's still here. I might have missed that all the time.
Oh, I'm hanging on to this right away.
Thank you for voting for it. Okay.
Where are you?